Hello, everybody, and welcome to an overview of Content Marketing Chapter 5. This is video content as it relates to content marketing and larger content strategies that go into digital marketing. Today, I'm going to share some slides, not all of them. There's 30 something total slides, as you'll see um, on the site. However, I'm going to go over the key terms that you will need to know both for the exams, for your assignments, and also just for the best practices to know when it comes to actually developing a strategy and when it comes to creating video yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. A quick thing here before I get too far. One thing I do want to stress is if there's anything at all on the slides that I skip over that you would like to know more about, please let me know. I am happy to discuss them with you in more detail. Again, a lot of the slides at the beginning, they're often exposition. I like to use them as a way of kind of getting people excited and more understanding of why this type of content is important. I think a lot of you already understand that part. But again, I am more than happy to discuss this in more detail. Honestly, I could sit here and make this video 4 hours if I wanted to. I could, just because it's a topic I'm very passionate about. I was considering breaking down each section into its own video, but I just want to be sure to share what is going to be valuable and worth your time here for this course. Now, when you talk about video content overall, people have this idea, or some people have this idea that high quality video is all the rage, and that to create video content, you need to have, it requires a high production value. And that's not the case. You have the Paul brothers over here. I think this is Jake Paul specifically, who have made a lot of money on YouTube as YouTube stars making videos. And they started with nothing more than a camera and themselves. They had a little bit of editing, they had a small editing software, but a lot of content creators start with either just a phone or just a basic camera. Maybe they can do some cuts and edits, but that's it. I myself, I have a lot of experience with video. When I was a kid, I did videos left and right. I have some of them on YouTube. You might be able to find them, but not on my Nick Matar account. And they were all over the place. And I did have access to editing equipment, and I did have access to good cameras. And I thought they were all the rage. However, looking back on it, it's less about the editing and the effects that I put into it, but more of the content. Was like I created what I thought were horror movies or what I thought were cool action sequences. And those types of things don't stand the test of time, but the content and like the true value comes from the people that are within it. And that's the important thing to know before we get too far into this is you don't need a ton of stuff, a ton of expensive equipment to make video content good. Sure, some brands will want that to be more match the aesthetic that they're going for and the tone of voice that they want. But in those instances, you're going to be provided that. And if you're starting your own business from the ground up, which you'll be doing later on in the capstone course, it's perfectly okay to just have a phone. I mean, I do TikTok videos of just me almost every day on topics like email marketing and content marketing. I do zero. I just have a phone. I try to include an extra light to help the lighting of it, and I just talk. And for me, it seems to be just fine. I've done the produced videos in the past. There's no true difference. If you look at it in terms of new business or revenue or all of that stuff, that the KPIs that a lot of brands like to look at, there's really not a huge difference. And in fact, I would argue that viewers on social media today look at a lot of professional videos when they're done by content creators as being unauthentic, not authentic. Because they feel like if there's a lot of production put into it, that people aren't being really honest, and that the true raw honesty comes from those one cut videos that are just recorded and posted to the web. And so that's where I wanted to start with today. On the flip side, place things like YouTube, big movies and Netflix. Yeah, those are all highly produced. But today we're talking about video in a digital marketing sense, in a content marketing sense. You look at viral videos. The earliest viral video was the dancing baby here from the 90s, and that was just a cool CGI effect set to some music. On the flip side, you had Charlie Bit My Finger. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this video from the mid 2000s, but it was just a dad recording his two kids. And it was just, 30 seconds of little kids talking. It was not produced or anything. But it was the 2010s that showed online video was in a new age. And that was when companies tried to plant viral videos. And this was the beginning. The early 2010s are when CEOs would walk into a marketing team's office. I've had this happen to me, and he says to everybody, or she or they talk to everybody, and they say, "Hey, we have a big product launch coming up, and we need to go viral for it." And then they'll walk out, and that's it. And these marketing teams are tasked with getting millions of views on videos, so they have to sell out. They have to try so hard, and they produce these really strong videos while staying on brand, and they try to make it truly viral when they're kind of stuck working within the confines of something that's not authentic. An example is this video, and I don't like playing videos within videos, but please look at the lecture slides. Look at this one. This was one that worked. This was I believe it was Gillette. Yeah, it was Gillette. If you can see right above Evan Longoria's head to the side, you see the word Gillette. The Tampa Bay Rays, Evan Longoria was the spokesperson for Gillette for a brief time in the 2010s, and they tried to create a viral video. They were sneaky about it. They're like, we're going to make this epic sports play and make it seem like it got caught on camera of Evan Longoria catching this crazy foul ball without even looking at it. And it'll go viral. People see it. And yeah, people thought it did go viral. People loved it. And Evan Longoria got a ton of attention on social media, early social media, a ton of attention online and everything. And Gillette was the brand behind it. And it didn't really do much for Gillette, to be perfectly honest, until it came out that Gillette was behind it. But it helped elevate Evan Longoria's status. And thus, when he would go, like it would get him more followers, for example, these are the early days of Twitter, he could then turn around and promote the stuff that he was talking about from Gillette. So it was an interesting way of going about it. Again, I'm not going to play it in this video, but it's just something to look at. I am going to move over this slide. Native video, just a quick definition for you. This is when you can upload a video directly to a social network or YouTube or whatever. It's essentially video that lives within the platform. So on Facebook, a native video is a Facebook video that you upload right there. And this day and age, it's reels are all the rage. Instagram, same thing, and also reels are all the rage. Video is now a real marketing tool. I think we know that. I'm going to skip over this slide. Here's a couple numbers I think are interesting. 88% of marketers believe video has provided good ROI, and 40% of businesses believe it's their most successful marketing tool. However, the number I did not include in here was how many people have actually seen measured success, and it's not 40%. It's much less. Why is that? There's a lot of reasons for it. It could be a little bit what I talked about before, but for now, we're going to kind of skim over that, and we'll come back to it's kind of a conundrum that I like to kind of leave open-ended and for you to ruminate over and think about, why is it that companies are so bent on the idea of video when a lot of them haven't actually seen success, that haven't seen demonstrated success. A lot of people will see views, sure. A lot of people will see clicks, but does it actually lead to new business? It's hard to measure. And that is just another piece of the puzzle that we are starting to construct as we go through this course. Later on, we'll talk about KPIs, how to best measure things like video, blogging, podcasts, infographics, things like that. In terms of technical terms, you're not going to really need to know these. These are good to know just in general. you know, high def right now is between 400. So if you think about a video, you're watching this video, there are a certain number of pixels on your screen that are displaying the video of this slide. And they are displayed in their dots, and they appear in lines, horizontal lines. And the more pixels, the higher definition the video. If there was 1 pixel, it'd be very bland. If there were, 10 pixels, not quite as crisp. But now you think of, for example, 1080 is a common is a common resolution. 1080 pixels, very crisp and clear. That's a standard. That is a traditional high def view, and that means that there are it's not 1080 pixels. It's 1080 lines of pixels. How many pixels are in a row? I don't really know. But 1080 rows of pixels, try to imagine that on your screen right now. It's a lot. When those pixels are transmitted onto your screen, they display in lines. They don't just all appear at once. They have, based on the bandwidth of your internet, or back in the day of your television, it would be displaying in lines either one by one from the top, or they would alternate lines. So it'd be the first line, the third line, fifth line. And because it doesn't require that specific ordering, it requires less bandwidth. I'm not sure why. I don't know the technical specifications behind it, but that's a quick definition of this slide. And if you want to look at 4K, that's 4,096 rows of pixels. That's why 4K is that great. A couple quick terms here. Your aspect ratio, so that's the size of your screen, or not the size, but the angle. So a 16:9, that's more horizontal. That's what this slide is. 16:9 is like widescreen. That's what you watch movies in, for most movies now. Things like TikTok, though, that's 9:16. Same with Instagram Reels, that's 9:16. Those are becoming much more popular. About 7 years ago, I went to an event where a speaker said that 9:16 video was the future, and that we all need to get used to that. It's 2022. We're wrapping up 2022, and I don't know if I fully agree with that yet. I'd say right now we're at half and half. If streaming really put a dent in that prediction, because if you watch Netflix, if you watch Apple TV, if you watch anything on your phone, actual shows, binge-worthy shows, you're still horizontal. Social media, sure. But at the same time, if you think about like any previews or any sorts of popular clips, sports clips, most of the time they're still horizontal, because if you're looking at the actual professionally produced stuff that appears in pop culture, that's not social media based, that's not originally social media, like Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars, like that was originally horizontal. Yes, people did turn it into a 9:16 vertical video, but by default it was horizontal, so you still see a good number of horizontal videos. Just so you know too, 4:5 aspect ratio is an almost square. There's a lot of videos that are still like that today. That's that's a standard def view that you have there. We're not going to look, I'm not going to go into too much in depth between pre-recorded and live videos. This is a fun little commercial for Australia. Highly recommend watching it if you get the chance. These are pre-recorded videos are produced. Not much to it. Live video is live video. Stuff that you go on live. I had the greatest success of my professional career with in terms of going viral with a live video. Back when Periscope was its own app. Now it has been bought by Twitter, and that's the kind of video that Twitter plays live. I was in an autonomous vehicle. What year was this? 2014, 2015, 2014, I think. And I was in the back in downtown Detroit going for a ride, and I went live. And the autonomous vehicle couldn't see the faded paint on the roadways, and ended up taking us way off course. We ended up going about 5 miles off into the deep west side of Detroit, which you can imagine would make for some interesting television. And the German driver did not know where he was. So my coworker that was sitting next to me had to direct him back. He had to take over and get us back to the building. I amassed a couple thousand live viewers, nothing crazy, nothing like what would be going viral today. But back then, that was a big deal. And I had no way to measure it. I had no way to turn it into customers, but that's for another day. It's stuff like that that's kind of random that you can capture live. And this is an example from Twitter, the one that you see here on the screen. That's somebody actually filming a tornado. Things like that are what really get people's attention and really what live video is all about. So you can record live video on social media, like the Periscope thing. You can do live streaming. I have never gone live on YouTube before, but I might do that soon. There's Twitch and other things like that. Then there's webinars. Webinars are a great example of live video that you can then repurpose into other content later. Hosting videos, there's two big ones. There's traditional hosting and then there's social media hosting. I personally would recommend always record. There's different reasons for them. So I won't say an obvious. So with YouTube, this is a place where you can get views over time. This is where you'll post stuff that might not be super timely and relevant, but it's a way to get amass views over the years. Meanwhile, social media videos are good for, they're good for the next 72 hours. Some like Instagram and TikTok are making it so that they're relevant for longer periods of time because they will deliver your videos to a wider audience past that 3-day mark. But to be perfectly honest, if you want views now and you're talking about something on a video that's relevant today, social media is the way to go. If you have something that is more of a long-term play, maybe this exact video that I'm doing right here, this is something that is going to do better on YouTube by default. Now, here's the big important part. Why would you use video in a content marketing strategy? First off, video is often used as the primary form of content. And as you may recall from earlier in the textbook, you have in content marketing and a piece of content, there's a primary form, and then sometimes there's a secondary or supplementary form. Video is usually primary in that is the main form of content that businesses and brands will use to amass visitors, amass signups, customers, things like that. A stat showed one time that videos, when put on a web page, can improve the conversion rate up to 80%. So if you had a landing page and you were trying to sell a product like a shirt, if you had a video of somebody promoting the shirt, that could feasibly increase the number of people that actually create an account and buy a shirt by 80%. Why not do it? But at the same time, you need to be sure that you are creating a video that is going to provide value and actually show people something that they would not have gotten just from reading the text. Again, it helps to maximize engagement, but at the same time, you look at YouTube and, the best videos are those that kind of follow some of these general strategies. The 5 big ones that have shown to be really successful for businesses are the following. There's how-to video. If you think about like how to tie a tie, that would be really well done in a video. If you want to do an interview or a Q&A with somebody, maybe a CEO or thought leader or a celebrity, maybe talking back to Evan Longoria from earlier from the Tampa Bay Rays, a quick interview video with him after that catch would have been a nice way to just push the con a little bit further. Behind the scenes videos are always nice. Those are big on social media, really big, where you can see what goes on behind the madness with a lot of big brands. Product overviews are nice. Talking about the shirt example, you could talk about, how does the shirt look on a person? What's the fabric like? Like, what does it actually look like when it is on a body, not just in a picture? And then you have the live stuff. I had a student last year who was really into podcasts, and he had not recorded. He had always just done the podcast as audio, and then he started recording himself out over Zoom as a video when he'd do the podcasts, posting it to YouTube in addition to Spotify and Apple. And he got a really nice bump in views and engagements. And that's a really good way. That's a really good example of how you can take one form of content and turn it into multiple. Because if you had just turned on Zoom while you're recording a podcast, you now have a secondary content market, and something that does not take long to update and edit and add could open you up to a lot of new viewers. The other thing is, this is an animation. This is what we call an explainer video. I recommend checking it out. And it's an animation where they go over how a product or service is run. A lot of software companies do this now because they're kind of complex and they're all trying to push their unique value proposition. So how do you do that? The easiest way to do it is through an explainer video where it's all animated. You can get them for a couple $100. Honestly, if you think about, like, I think I paid $600 back in 2016 for an explainer video when I was doing some marketing support for a friend's company. He was pushing a company that offered cars as a subscription service where you could get a car for like a month at a time. And it started here in Detroit, and it was really hard to explain online. And so we had a 2-minute explainer video, and it did really well right on the homepage, where rather than spending all this money on production for like an in-person video, we just had a company quickly go through and show, like, okay, here's a guy handing a woman the keys. Now there's a clock. Here's a graph that shows all of her savings that go into it over renting a car and over leasing a car. It worked really well. So to see an explainer video, click on that link to check it out. The other key with video is that it does need to fit into a larger content strategy, in that you have a large content strategy, you have your goals, and you have what do we want out of our content? And a content strategy that's just blogs, for example, or it's just a podcast, is not going to get you very far, because it's limiting in terms of the people that can access your content. And eventually those people are going to want to see more than one type of content. I take a podcast, for example. People only want to hear your voice for so long before they want to put a face to the name. So video is a great way to diversify content, because you can add it to a larger content strategy very easily. As I talked about earlier, you can do it very low tech. It does not require a ton of production value. And you could even take a blog and turn it into a presentation on PowerPoint, like I've done here, display it up on a screen, record it on Zoom, and then talk over the slides like I'm doing here as well. Video is really an easy way to take other forms of content and make them more engaging, reaching a wider audience. And when you do that, you could find that your audience actually engages better with video than the original content form. Really, that's the name of the game here, is you want to test, retest, try out new things on a content strategy. And if video at low time and cost here is the way to go, you could have a brand new way to reach a brand new audience. I'm going to skip over these two slides here. I will say, video as primary content is great, and as secondary content is also nice. You can embed videos in an article, for example. But when it comes down to it, think about just how video is going to fit in a wider context, because also there's the idea of video as the only content. I don't really recommend that. As you'll see as the course goes on, I'm going to always recommend that you have a diverse set of content, that you have multiple forms of content that are part of your strategy. And only having video, to me, is a missed opportunity, because as easy as it is to take one form of content and turn it into video, it's just as easy to take a video and turn it into another secondary form of content as well. Finally, when to use video on social media. I included this slide very specifically on social media, because I think video on social has really elevated it to this next level. There was a Facebook executive back in 2016, who said, or no, 2015, I don't remember. She said, in 5 years, the internet will be all video. Well, it's been more than 5 years and we're still not all video. We're close. We're getting there. And TikTok is really helping that woman's wish come true, but we're not quite there yet. And at the same time, you look at how non-video social media does. The most viral stuff on social media is all video. It's pretty uncommon for something that's not a video to go viral. And so I'm not saying this is the way to go viral necessarily, but there's a lot more opportunity for video on social media than the other content forms, at least in my estimation. Now, when you do that, there's a couple different ways that you can go about it. I recommend one of 4 ways. There's one, the old person talking to a camera, like what most people do on TikTok. There's an animation. It's kind of like what we looked at earlier with the explainer video. Those always catch people's eyes. And while it may not fit your brand, it's a nice way to deviate from the live action stuff that people are used to seeing as they scroll. Then you have full clips. So a full clip, for example, is like, what's an example here? A full clip would be, say looking at sports highlights. Those aren't technically full clips because they're just highlights, but at the same time, a 2-minute highlight video of your favorite football team winning, on Saturday afternoon, that's a true full clip because it is something that you would see outside of social. You might see it on ESPN. You might see it somewhere else. Same thing with like a cooking, like somebody making a recipe, like those tasty videos that you used to and might still be seeing. Tons of copycats now, but it's a full clip because somebody spends 90 seconds cooking something very fast, of course. Those do really well because they provide full context, and at the same time, they're teaching something. It's motivating, it's inspiring, it's educating. But then you also have previews, so the opposite of full clips. A lot of movie previews, those always do well. Highly anticipated show previews. But then you can also do kind of like as it relates to your brand, something that's more of a sneak peek, or they call it a teaser trailer, where it's like 10 seconds and it just like shows some text, coming up in January, the brand ABC is going to unveil XYZ. And that's it. That's kind of stuff that gauges people's attention, might raise some eyebrows, and at least it gets engagements. Then you have to deliver on your promise. But the idea there, again, on social media is that video is getting people talking, and video on social media should get more engagements and more people talking than other forms of content. If not, you should go back to the drawing board and make sure that you are still that you're still following your content strategy and that you're really getting the most out of your efforts. And so that is all for today. I think I went a little long, but I tried to cover as much as I could and as quickly as I could. So if you have any questions about any of this content, of course, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to chat. I will be back next time with more content on content marketing.